On with the show. It is time to introduce our featured speaker, our founder and artist story. So grateful and humbled to introduce Peter Tunney. He is an artist, an entrepreneur. He is a legitimate force of nature with boundless creative energy, spreading his positive messages through his works of art to a worldwide collector database. Some of his clients include billionaire entrepreneurs Michael Rubin, Stephen Ross, the owner of the Miami Dolphins, athletes Alex Rodriguez, Aaron Judge, and the one and only Jennifer Lopez. Woo! Some of Peter's messages include gratitude, the time is always now, and fear less and love more. He has over 30 years experience in the creative space. His work has been featured in Times Square and Hard Rock Stadium. He spoke at TEDx Wall Street and was a keynote speaker for the Founder Summit, the Cruise Founder Summit. Beyond his art, he's deeply committed to paying it forward, to giving back. He champions criminal justice reform and mental health advocacy. And he's partnered with some initiatives like World Mental Health Day, which is on Friday actually, and Project Healthy Minds. We're gonna do interview style here. We're gonna do a Q&A with him and I, and then we'll open up the mic to all of you to ask questions to Peter as well. But we're gonna talk about the relationship trade in business. We're gonna talk about the importance of mental health. And we're going to talk about his journey as an artist and entrepreneur. So I want everyone to give a big round of applause for Peter Tunney.
Thank you, Aaron. I appreciate you guys to go.
Wow, I'm ready to go home. I got up early this morning. I'm serious. I'm already fully nourished. Like we had a full-on breakout session outside, covered a lot of ground, met people I knew, didn't know, came in here. I mean, the meditation and the breathing, after that, I should have got in my car and gone to work because it just reminds me, for me personally, how important like the morning meditation is, because I don't wake up as a vessel for the world. I wake up as a crazy person, and then I have to be like, no, I can't do everything today. I'm just gonna do today. Let me just do my morning meditation. That one was really beautiful. So really good to be here. Thank you.
We're so grateful to have you here. And it's incredible how I met him. I was walking in Wynwood.
Incredible to you.
It's annoying to him, but incredible to me. Because I was walking past this gigantic building in Wynwood, and then I was like, wow, this is a pretty cool art studio. So I just walk in like at 10:30 p.m. at night on like a random Monday. And I see this guy on the corner of the building outside smoking a cigar, and I walk in, and he's like, "Excuse me, what are you doing?" I'm like, "I just want to see some art." He's like, "This is my private studio." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And he's like, literally, but he's like, "You know what? Let me give you a tour." And he stopped smoking his cigar, and we walked through this block.
I did not stop smoking my cigar. That's total bullshit. I smoke indoors. Keep going.
All right. He's smoking his cigar, and he walks through 11 p.m. on a Monday night, and he's sharing with me for an hour about his background. And
2 hours.
2 hours. 2 hours. And I dealt with the cigar smoke. It was no problem. It was no problem, but it was worth it. And we're sharing about the books that we read. We're sharing about poetry. We're talking about authors we like. He's telling me about his journey. He's giving me advice. A complete stranger walks into his studio, and he gives 2 hours of his time.
I like at the very end of it, after 2 hours, I said, "What's your name, by the way?"
So it's just an incredible connection. And then I texted him randomly a few months later and be like, "Hey, I have this entrepreneur community. Would you like to speak?" Replies back instantly after a couple months not talking to him. "Sure, let's do it." Incredible, man. So I'm excited to have him, and let's start Let's start with your background and journey.
Wait, let's start with you walking by me on the stoop, okay? We'll cover a little ground. You don't just get to tell your story. So basically, I sit outside there every night. I'm working inside. I come out. I have a little cigar. I do smoke in that studio. And anyone that walks by me, I like to make them feel a little bit uncomfortable, especially if it's like a really nice family or something. I was like, what the fuck are you doing? Where are you going? They're like, oh, we didn't know it. You know, it's a store. Can we come in? So this is my private studio, but I'm going to let you in. And then I bring him in. And that's the beginning of the relationship trade right there. It's a good note. And it's a good trick, you know? And then I bring you in. And in your case, for whatever reason, we did spend like 2 hours together and did the full thing. But if I were to describe today what my job is, it's that. I do make a lot of art, and I'm busy physically producing art all the time, and I like that part of my life. It keeps me out of the haunted house, you know? But what I do on the ground, my hand-to-hand combat, is exactly what we did. I do that every day. I always tell people I do 10 shows a day. Copperfield does 2. I do 10. If you're lucky, we might get in a ladybug ride and drive around and just go as deep as you want to go deep. Usually in that 2 hours, there's a tragedy that's covered, a young person that took their own life, a friend that's suffering from addiction, a money problem, a mental problem, feeling down. Somewhere, someone's going to say something in that 2 hours, and we're just going to get into that. And after all of that, that's because you sent me a note about the relationship trade. As I always say, that's the trade. It's just the relationship build. Randomly, I don't care if it's the maid or the billionaire, I give you the same show.
And candor. We talked a lot about candor. I love the definition of that word.
You remember it?
It's something about
Lucky
to
for
express yourself.
No, it's not something about anything, bro. It's called the dictionary definition. You ready for it? Candor. It's going to blow your mind. You take this one with you. One of the most beautiful ones ever. I would say the definition of this word I'm about to tell you probably solved every problem on the planet today. Openness of heart, frankness. Openness of heart and frankness. Boom. Drop the mic. It's a good one. Yeah, well, what problem doesn't that solve? Open your heart and be honest.
And he showed so much candor with me that evening. So, Peter, I know that we don't have a whole lot of time, but I want to cover just the basics.
We have like 10 seconds.
The time is always now, right?
Yeah, I'm here.
Your background and journey as an artist, what led you to your art? And if there's just one or two experiences that changed your life between when you were born and when you started your first painting.
That's like 9 questions right there. Just boil it down. Where do you want me to start?
How you became an artist and what was the life experiences that got you there? I know there was one when you were 13 that was dramatic. I don't know if you want to share that.
Yeah, I could talk about everything. When I was like 13 and a half years old, I was coming back from a tennis match with my buddy. We weren't real tennis players. We were playing on like asphalt. And we were driving our bikes. I was going down a very long hill. It's like a 1-mile hill in Stony Brook, Long Island, where you go top speed on your bike, where you can't pedal anymore. You're just flying. And I got T-boned by a 1975 Ford, blasted me on my bicycle. And that changed everything in my life. I like to say I went to the hospital in 2 separate cars because that makes you a badass. But I was in pieces. It's a little bit early in the morning, but think about, I have 2 little kids now. Think about this 13-year-old boy, I probably weighed 60 pounds. My femur was down the street. I'd completely bled out, pieces of me all over, and there's nothing really in there. I mean, you're basically done. You just bled out. You have no vital signs. They picked up all those pieces, brought me to the hospital. Here I am, kids. Here I am. What do you say about that? So, not by any greatness of me, but I like to, we're talking about writing books and movies and stuff now and telling my full story because it's a pretty good story. But I like to stop the film right there and say, what do you think happens to this kid? Right there on the pavement. What do you think happens to this kid? You wouldn't fucking believe it in a billion years what happened to that kid. And so I like to say, because my story is always about hope. You know, hope is all we have, right? And that's the slippery slope of mental health when you lose hope. That if I got from there to here, everything you're doing is pretty easy. and everything that happened to me. I mean, it's really beyond all comprehension. We can't really get our head around how lucky we are to be sitting here. I notice everybody here has 2 legs today. Sometimes they don't. You meet a lot of people that are running around on prosthetics. Didn't stop them. So if you're in this room, you have everything. The brain that's in your head that you did nothing for, you just got it. You probably damaged it, put some chemicals in there, hit your head on the side of the door one day, did a lot of stuff. Your brain is fully working. Your brain scientifically has more computing power than all of the quantum computers in the world put together today. It's called the zegabyte. I bet no one in this room ever heard of a zegabyte. Has anyone ever heard of a zegabyte? I'm going to digress for 10 seconds. Zegabyte is a term used in science, like at MIT, to describe all of the digital information in the world at this moment. That's a zegabyte. That's what your brain is processing. You have enough processing power to process all the digital information in the world today in your brain. What are you doing with that? Can't find your phone? Lost your car keys? Hey, what are you doing? I don't know. What are you doing? You know, we're not using 1% of our brain. You're using 1 grain of sand on the beach. And I like to just open that up. Did I answer your question?
That's perfect. That's perfect. So just leading into that.
So I got hit by a car. All right.
Yeah,
Should I finish?
So from there, what led you to selling your first piece of art?
Wow.
After the
We
accident?
definitely don't have time. That's like a crazy loaded question. So I went into the hospital. My first hospital stay was like 6 or 7 months. I was in and out of the hospital for 10 years. I had 20 operations. I was hospital boy. I was that kid. It took me out of sports. It took me out of everything. I managed to get through that. I managed to get through high school. I mean, I ran my high school like Michael Corleone from my wheelchair. That's what I did. I went to college. I went to college. I think I went to like probably 3 classes in 3 years. I don't mean 3 full, I just mean 3 individual 1-hour classes, probably what I went to. And I ended up just in a crazy situation, and I left college after like 3.5 years. I was actually told to leave. I was given a limo to take me back to my parents' house from upstate New York. I went back there and told them I dropped out of college, and I had gotten some money from the car accident, and I spent it all. I moved into a hotel, I lived in the penthouse. That's where I spent my money. And I was kind of pissed that people were telling me about what I should do with that blood money. I didn't want to hear it. So I just, in my 3rd year of college, I moved into the penthouse of this hotel, and I stayed there until the money was gone. I went home and told my parents I spent all the money. I think I bought my parents a washing machine and a car or something. I went home and I told them I spent all my money, and I dropped out of school. That did not go down too well at all. I was a really smart kid too. I was supposed to go to Georgetown, be a lawyer and all that stuff. I didn't do that. I went and sold cars. I did get a momentary job. I was the manager of the Playboy Club in New York City. I did not make it through the training period, and I never got fired from my job. I just quit before you found me and told me. So that's true. So this guy said, you should come to Long Island with me and sell cars. You're a great car salesman. I'll give you $1,000 a week. I'll give you a free car. I was like, wow. Well, I did that. And in selling cars, a guy came in one day. I'm giving you the really fast story of how I got here. He came in and said, wow, kid, you're the best salesman I ever met. You want to go to Wall Street? You'd make $1 million. I said, I do want to go to Wall Street and make $1 million. In fact, that's exactly what I want to do. He said, come with me. And he introduced me to his boss, who was the CEO of a firm called Paine Webber. And I started my Wall Street career. I took my test at Paine Webber because of my time in the hospital. When you're in the hospital for a long time, it's not like in a after school movie. Your friends don't come every day. After a while, nobody comes. Your mother comes. And I hang out with doctors and nurses, and that became my peer group for a long period of my life, and I was a smart kid. So I knew a lot about medicine. So I got to Wall Street. I saw this thing. It had like a thermo picture of a heart on it, and it was for a drug called TPA. It's called tissue type plasminogen activase. Never thought I'd be saying that at this meeting, but if you're a doctor, you know that's Drano for your arteries, and that's how I sold it. You have a blood clot, it goes through. I thought this thing was amazing. The company was called Genentech, and this was 1985. It was the beginning of biotechnology, and I got deeply into biotechnology, and that's really all I did during my tenure on Wall Street was did off-balance sheet finance deals for biotechnology companies and other companies. That's how I learned venture capital. Here's how I became an artist. In 1987, the stock market crashed. We were deeply in a company called Amgen. We had done a deal for them. It was a wildly successful deal. And that would be like investing in Apple or Microsoft as a founder or something. It was one of those things. Amgen was a $300 million cap company. We raised $80 million for them. Today it's a $150 billion company. Not a trillion, but Amgen's a successful company. And the stock market crashed. I didn't have a lot of exposure to stocks or anything like that. It wasn't really bad news. I was just Mr. Biotechnology private placement deal. And a guy called me. He said, my client's been wiped out on margin. I remember the guy's name too, Bill Logier from Des Moines, Iowa. He said, would you give me $10,000 for my Amgen thingamajiggy value NA? I said, I would. And I called up my client, my richest client. I said, you want to get another Amgen unit at 10 cents on the dollar? He said, as many as you can, I'll take them all. And I sent out a wire to 4,000 brokers that day, illegally, I believe, and said, anyone else want to get liquid in any of these Paine-Webber R&D partners? And my phone rang off the hook. I called my client and said, listen, I'm going to quit my job. We're going to be partners. You put up all the money. And we made an agreement. In fact, the exact call was, I'm going to quit my job. You put up all the money. We'll buy all this stuff, and we'll be 50-50 partners. He said, we'll be 70-30 partners. I said, I was going to ask him for $200,000. I said, then you give me a check today for $250,000. I just threw in an extra 50 and he went for it. He said, no problem. So I went down and I got this check for $250,000. That's my answer to how I became an artist. Because I went back to my apartment that was paying $900 a month rent on 60th Street, and I had this check for $250,000. I was living across off my buddy. I said, look at this. What is this, 900 years of rent? I mean, I'm fucking made. It's unbelievable. What's going on here? I can't believe it. And he said, what'd you do? I said, I quit my job. Here comes your answer. Wait for it. He said, what are you going to do now? And I said, I'm going to be an artist. That was it. So sorry to disappoint you. There was no forethought. I was not making art every weekend. I had no aspirations to be an artist. I had nothing. I was a drug addict. I said, I'm definitely going to be an artist now. He said, well, what do you mean? I thought you had a good job. I didn't know you liked art or anything. I said, no, it's going to be great. I'm going to paint my apartment white. I'll wear my pajamas to dinner. It's going to be so cool. He said, but Peter, your apartment is white and you do wear your pajamas to dinner. What else are you going to do? And I mean, just as an arcane bit of the detail, because I was kind of embarrassed that my apartment was white and I was actually wearing my pajamas when I was talking to him, I said, no, I'm going to paint everything white in my apartment. I had to up the ante a little bit and level up. So I did. I painted my faucets, the toilet, every single thing. I whited out my apartment like James Turrell, and I put everything in the hall. And that's how I became an artist. Wow. Next question.
So that's a great lead-in for the next question. Which
By the way, the dumbest move I ever made, so much pain, 35 years of pain, gave up being a billionaire, all that kind of stuff. But I do have these two amazing children. For example, I probably wouldn't have had them if I didn't, it's like sliding doors.
So you decide, you have your joint, you decide to become an artist. And we talked a lot about relationships over the last few days and the relationship trade, right? So let's talk about how you go about building authentic relationships, because you don't become the level of artist that you are unless you've built relationships from that first painting you sold to where you are today, selling to billionaires and celebrities. So let's talk about the relationship trade and what it means to build authentic relationships and trust.
Well, first of all, I don't know what an inauthentic relationship is, right? That's like a jumbo shrimp. It's an oxymoron. The relationship reeks of authenticity. If your relationship isn't authentic, then you're a fucking liar. Something is wrong, right? And so here's how it really goes on the ground. You're the test case. Here we are, brother. We have a relationship, right? You walked in off the street. I was on guard, just waiting to trap someone in my little roach motel, And this guy walked in. I'll go get him. And I don't know what you have. I don't know if you're going to buy art. I wouldn't know any of that. And so I wouldn't immediately go up to you and be like, hey, do you like linen canteen holder? Why would anybody? I mean, it's so random. So I just go in and deal with the human being. and suss out a little bit of what's going on, whether it's the maid or the billionaire. He's focused on the billionaires, I'm focused on the maids. You know why? That's why I get the billionaires. Because they go home and tell their boss, I walked into this place tonight, and this guy took me around, it's amazing, and he treated me with such kindness and enthusiasm, and he gave me a book, and the boss says, I'll go over there. So you never know who you're going to talk to. So the relationship build, that's what I do. That's what I do every day. And I can't, I'm thinking, my mind is like watching 100 movies at the same time, thinking about, did I ever sell a painting? I'm just thinking about, did I ever walk up and be like, Joe, this one, the brush strokes, this paint, not in my fucking life did I ever say anything like that. Most of the time, we're talking about some really difficult situation that one of us is going through, or we know someone's going through, or something a lot of people are going through, like a war, or something like that. And then we have this deep dive, which goes for 1.5 to 2 hours. That's my usual time. And then he says to his wife, honey, let's get something. Which one do you like? That's it. I did that around 10,000 times. I sold a piece of art around one a day for 30 years. That's 10,000 clients. I have 10,000 clients. I have no unhappy or pissed off clients, not with me. They could be unhappy in their life. And I over-delivered to every single one of them. Sent them a free gift and sent them a book. That was my work. That's the unduplicatable foundation that some young artist that just splattered some shit out doesn't have. And that's my bank. That's what I rely on. I lean on my franchise. I lean on those relationships, but I built them one at a time.
The source. We talked about the source in the beginning of the meeting, right? Miami Made is about the source, not the surface level, the source level.
Yeah, there's no relationships on the surface.
There's no relationships on the
surface.
surface.
There's just surface.
There's just service. Wow. So to lead into that, next question is, what advice would you give to someone who's struggling right now, making money in their business or their arts or their creative endeavor?
I'm not giving the advice anymore like persevere, get through it, keep going. If you're going through hell, keep going. I'm more into like the Deepak Chopra vibe of letting it all go. And letting it work out. I met Deepak Chopra like 20-something years ago, and he's got a gratitude painting from me, and he said something like, Peter Tunney, you will not be the first man to swim to the top of Niagara Falls. You should just let go and take the ride with the rest of us. Motherfucker. I mean, I met him for like 5 minutes, and that's what he said to me, and I took his advice. And I've been going down the river. And this is my advice when you're struggling. Let go. You're your own worst enemy. You're strangling your own problems. You're just so married and holding on to this whole strife and shit that you're into. I'm not saying don't focus on your work, because I'm a very detailed, focused person. I don't believe in multitasking. I spend most of my adult life in my job that I get paid for, putting 2 pieces of paper together. I just think about, should I put it over? Should I put it out? It's why, burn the edge and then I'll put it there. And I'm talking about doing that thousands of times a day. Thinking about that seam. And I figured out I spent 30,000 hours putting pieces of paper together and doing word painting. So I'm a triple expert, right? Maybe I'm the best in the world. But it's just, I'm just thinking about from 1 inch to the bottom of the matchbook to, is it torn? I'll turn it over. I just living there. And 25 years ago, I didn't have the meditative power to do that, period, at all. Just throw stuff.
So it's almost like you're deeply present in the small things, but largely letting go of the big picture of things and the results.
Well, I like people use that expression, let go and let God, and I always say, like, did you really ever even have it? Like, what are you letting go of, Mr. Big Shot? What were you holding on to? Well, I can tell you from my experience, I'm an expert in this area, by the way. I ran the universe for like 25 years. It was exhausting. You didn't know it, but I was running everything. It was completely exhausting.
Who can relate running everything in the universe? Controlling everything, right?
I mean, wow. Then you get older after 30 years, you're like, well, I'm just going to control my universe and my people now. Good luck there too. You'll eventually, your grip will be broken if you are going to succeed. You have to let it all go. And letting it go doesn't mean giving up at all. Letting it go to me means you finally giving up the fucking illusion that you're controlling everything. Jesus.
Amazing. So now that we talked about the universe and letting go, we're gonna.
Well, you asked that. What is my advice? Breathe out, let go. I read you something that I read this morning as my morning meditation when I was at home. It's on my phone. I really wanted to read it out loud, but it's too tedious for me to go over there. I'm too impatient. But it said something like, and it was in a little passage from Deepak, 7 Spiritual Laws. He's on my mind this morning. And the first one is the law of pure potentiality. And it says that until you can know yourself, you can't do anything. Anything. And once you live and get to know that and understand that, then you can do everything. The whole universe is like just waiting outside your door. But you're too wrapped up with your head up your own ass to even think about anything because you're so stressed out. Give it up.
Yes. And if I could add to that, yes, we got to share these because I love this quote. It's our quote, Invincible Summer. Just the paraphrase of it, because this is about the struggles too. Okay. So who's the poet again? It's Eliot.
Good try. I let you do that because I knew, just to humble you up a little bit. Albert Camus, Algerian-born Nobel Prize winner, wrote The Stranger and Other Great Things. Amazing guy. In my studio, I should give you context, I got called upon to do branding for World Mental Health Day. Like, Peter, we know you're in this space, we love your art, it's so positive, and you go. And as I dug into it a little bit, I'm doing branding outside, but also at this 500 people gala. These are the big supporters, big Mahakas in New York City. But at my table is a couple, a well-known couple, that lost their 23-year-old son, took his own life. They're sitting at my table with the 3 surviving siblings. And I'm realizing around the room, there's quite a few other tables where people have experienced that, just like unspeakable loss, losing a child. What am I gonna bring? Happy place, gratitude, it is what it is? No. So I called them and said, I'm not sure what to do. And I'm so deeply empathetic and connected with many of these people personally in this universe. And I was in my gallery one day, and my gallery is like 100 times the size of this room, and it has 1 million little pieces of paper in 750 little boxes that only I know where they all are. I probably don't even. And a piece of paper came fluttering out. It was in a note form. It said, "Dear Lydia, in the midst of hate, I found there was within me an invincible love. In the midst of chaos, I found there was within me an invincible calm. And I realized through it all that in the midst of winter, I found there was within me an invincible summer. And that makes me happy. For it means that no matter how hard the world pushes against me, there's something within me, something stronger, something better, pushing right back." And so I found that, and I called them up. I said, "I know what I'm doing. It's Invincible Summer. If I show you later, if you Google it, I did Invincible Summer, dude. I riffed on it hard for a year. I made 300 pieces of art of Invincible Summer. I did murals, I did walls, and I put all those people in the Invincible Summer, and I recited that poem from the stage because it dawned on me, that's how they got through it. Because they're laughing at my jokes and they're dancing at the party. It's above my pay grade, you know, and I live in that world. I get that call not every day, but every week, let's say, we get a call like that. And so, like, wow, Invincible Summer. That's how they do it. That's how we do it. Because within us, and he doesn't say he went to a meeting or paid for due or went to a healing session. He just says, I realized through it all that in the midst of winter, you found it. What great news within me is an invincible summer. Guess what? You have an invincible summer in you. So do all of you. I mean, rely on that.
And plus we live in Florida as well. It's summer all year long, so
That's the
that as
endless
well.
summer. I'm on the endless summer too. I'm a surfer. So that's what I did, and that's how it comes from for me. That was a year of work, a year of business, and then it wasn't working out so good. I said to some guy that was in my world, God, it's so hard, so everything's going up, prices, money, art, no one's buying art, what's going on? He said, Peter, nobody said it was easy. So I made a big painting, nobody said it was easy, and I sold it for $100,000. Like, that's not a business plan, but that's how my whole life has worked this whole time. All of it, every week, all of it. So since that's not a business plan, that's not a good idea for me to try to have that construct run my world. I'm letting the universe run my world. If it works, it works. If it don't, it don't. I'm cool either way now.
Peter, so good. A couple more questions, then we're going to open it up to the crowd for a few minutes. But I'm just very curious about this. You've, over your 35 years painting and selling art, you've come across some big clients, some billionaire entrepreneurs, some celebrities, athletes, people that are world class in what they do. What have you learned from them in your interactions with some of the uber wealthy or highest performing artists and athletes in the world?
They all have the same problems I described since I started talking and what we talked about outside, period. All of them. They don't want you to know, just like Instagram, everybody's life looks great. Is everybody's life that great? No. I live on the front lines of mental health. It's not. The girl that tried to take her own life at 15, we look at her Instagram, she's 15, she's got like a champagne glass, she's in front of a Ferrari. Drake is back there. She doesn't know Drake, but she got it in there. Everything is like that. Her pictures are filtered. In real life, she's 30 pounds heavier. She has no friends. She lies in bed every night and wants to kill herself. That's fucking reality. And what they all describe, we did it's too long for this, but we did like an interview process with 20 young people that had tried to take their own life and didn't. They talked to someone and they filmed it and everything. Almost all of them described the rift between their social media profile and their real life. Everyone's like, oh, those phones. Except I had the same rift without a phone my whole life. The imposter syndrome, you're not good enough, all that shit. Just exacerbated and on steroids by putting it out there every single day to everyone in the world. And then it feedback loop to you is you're a loser. Scroll in despair, compare in despair. What was the question?
No, you answered it. You answered it. The time is now. You answered that question. But this leads into my next question. And mental health equals blank. Mental health equals blank.
Mental wealth. WELLTH. That's what I would say. I'm so fucking
WELLTH.
That's what it is. That's what it is. I'm so tired of hearing mental illness and stigma and mental health and you're sick and I'm not. It's all such bullshit. And it's all a little bit, for me, just a little bit pessimistic and dehumanizing, Why not go for mental wealth? Why not be a powerhouse up here? And you can only trust one thing I tell you today. If you're a powerhouse up here, you're a powerhouse out there, period, end of story. If you're losing in here, you're losing, period, 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 period. The whole thing is an inside job. You have no one to fix it, nothing to do. Get your shit together. Sorry.
That's great. Amazing. Guys, we're going to open up the mic here. I want to give you a big round of applause for Peter Tunney.
Yeah. Is it over already? It was like 10 seconds.
Woo! We're going to do some Q&A with the group. Another 5-10 minutes of Q&A with the group. We have a question right
Isn't
here.
it weird we never even talked about art?